What's up, everyone? Welcome. We are live right now on CannaBuzz, and if you're joining us in YouTube land or on your podcast app or Spotify, thank you so much for joining us. We are so stoked to have you. We have a great episode for you today. We have Terpicana Kyle. We're going to be talking all about hash extracts, a little bit about the Dude Grows hash cup that's coming up, and much more. But before we get too far into it, we need to make a couple shout outs. First off, shout out to everyone in the CannaBuzz community. If you enjoy our podcast, if you enjoy listening to us and you want to support us, join us in the CannaBuzz community. It's our members only community. It's kind of like a Patreon type thing plus an app. So join us over there. If you're a supporter, you can join us when we live stream these interviews every Sunday or Monday, whenever we do these interviews. So you can get your questions even in. We'll take live questions sometimes. So if you want to join us over there, join us at cannabuzz.app in your browser, or you can download the app in your favorite app store and use the code BUZZ for your first month free. We'd love to see you over there, and your support is really appreciated. It helps us go to things like the Dude Grows Cup. We actually bought JR's flight to the Dude Grows Cup so he can go over and film videos of it and stuff like that. So thank you so much to everyone who supports us over there. Also, shout out to lostcoastplanttherapy.com. If you want to use an organic IPM spray in your grow or outside, indoor or outside, check out lostcoastplanttherapy.com or search it on Amazon or your favorite grow store. It's an awesome spray. We really enjoy using it and our grows for various things, and we've done really great videos about how to use it. You can search that up on our channel as well. But thank you, Lost Coast Plant Therapy. And then last shout out from me before I throw it to JR is going to go out to sacred3mushrooms.com. You want to grow your own mushrooms at home, go to sacred3mushrooms.com, use the code CannaBuzz for a discount, and you can get your own home grow kit. It's got everything you need in there, and he's got links on his sites to spores and other stuff. Everything you need in one site, sacred3mushrooms.com, and use that code CannaBuzz. And thanks to Nazi for his support. And then JR, take it away.
Excellent. For our Tiki announcements, I want to hit up the tikicuts.com because this time of year is the time that people start thinking about what they might be putting out or what their next run might be. And so I featured the Z Rain today, and that's the Skittles by Tiki Rain. And I've been running the Tiki Rain for almost 2 years now. And it is the primary source that I use for my RSO because it's a very powerful strain. And so I'm imagining the Z Rain's going to be really, really good. And his website is doing the buy one, get one right now at tikicuts.com. So he's got a good selection out right now. So hit him up. All his stuff is batch tested. A lot of it's tissue culture stuff or stuff he's made himself. And then also I want to talk about Raw Genetics, our other sponsor. He's got his Ziggy Guy Purple Pheno, which is the one that's been winning hash cups here this year. And he has that up as a slip available. And so you could pick that up. And that's Z Skittles by Rainbow Belts 2.0 is what kind of makes up that purple Ziggy Guy. So check that out at secretselections.io. Get your cuts today, folks.
Awesome. Well, today we have Terpicana Kyle. JR is friends with Kyle and goes back with him. So I'm going to kind of throw it over to JR for doing the official intro and jumping into that first question.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have Kyle come on and talk about his brand, Terpicana, and also talk about his good buddy, Nick. Nick is a community member, has been strong in the community for a long time, and he's at a position in his life and his journey where he needs the support of all of us. So we all can do things to help out, whatever, even if that's just spreading the word to get more help. But we've got Kyle coming on today to talk about Nick, to talk about Terpicana, and the third day event of the Dude Grows Cup. He's going to be organizing it with Taking Tops to have a bash cup, whatever they're going to call him. That's one of my questions coming up. And so welcome to the show, Nick. We're really glad to have you.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. We're very excited, first of all, for the hash bash. Obviously, Tops and I are organizing a pretty big hash cup. There hasn't ever been anything like it, and there's not really any restrictions as far as live resin, live rosin, or any other kinds of hash. Temple balls, piatella. You can bring whatever you want to enter. If you feel your hash is good enough, let's see what it's about. So that's just a brief overview on the hash cup, obviously, but I am really here to talk about my buddy Nick. I've known Nick for a long time, and what has happened to him is really sad, and he's really struggling. So I'm trying my best to get the word out, and to support him as much as I can too. I've donated a bunch of oil and made a bunch of posts, and have told all of my friends to ring the bell. On different podcasts, from Jug Dealers to Dude Grows to Adam Dunn Show, and some more as well. But we're doing everything that we can to help Nick. And Nick has a company called Cannabis World Records. I'm wearing the shirt right now. That he was working on. Obviously, he can't work on it right now, but we feel bad for him, obviously, and want to help him as much as we can because he's done a lot for the community and to help everyone selflessly, as an activist. So Nick's a great dude, very solid. I brought him actually to the DGC Cup last year for his first time. He was in perfect health and had like an amazing time at the DGC Cup. So he's also close to that community, and he just didn't know about the cup before it, and we're pumped to try to help him. So
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you came on here to kind of talk about that. And before we get into that, we always like to ask our guests when they first come on the show, how did you fall in love with the plant? How has the plant helped get you where you are today?
so it comes full circle. So when I was 9 years old, my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Died within 8 months, and that left a lot of trauma in my life. When I first tried cannabis, it was a night and day difference from all the pharmaceuticals I was given, from antidepressants to anti-anxiety to stimulants to the whole cocktail that was thrown at me from the doctors and the therapists that I had at a very young age. So starting at 10 years old, I had multiple therapists. I was acting out. I was being a complete degenerate as far as a sixth grader in school, and even in fifth grade I was absolutely nuts. But cannabis really grounded me and gave me a different perspective on everything that had happened to me. So I was the person that my parents were not cool with cannabis. My dad and then my stepmom, not cool with it. Very strict, very anti-cannabis, I would say. And I was just defiant. I was like, this is something that helps me. This is something that I'm passionate about. I actually started growing a plant under my sink in my bathroom when I was, I think, 16, and with just a little click light. And I for some reason thought my dad wouldn't find it. So got caught doing that. Ended up going to college in Florida. Ended up leaving college to move out to Colorado and pursue this full time, despite everything that my family had said and everyone else. And I just felt like it was my calling. So as far as the plant, I have a very deep relationship with the plant, obviously for personal reasons. I know it can cure cancer. I know that it helps with a lot of trauma from just my personal use and experience. But I decided to pretty much dedicate my life to this plant, and to do as much as I can to push the boundaries of what it is. So I've been doing this full time since I was 19 years old here in Colorado, and it's been a wild journey, seeing rec pass, and then obviously being only medical, and then going from there to where we're at now, which is it's pretty much nationwide now. So I'll discuss a little bit about that later, but that's my background a little bit as far as what brought me to this and what fueled me to dedicate my life to doing this full time. And I haven't worked a normal job in 11 years, I think. I mean, it's been cannabis full time.
Well, one of the things we touch on here on this platform is the concept that the plant provides. It provides in every way. And for people like us who dedicate our life to the plant, can you kind of talk about how the plant provides?
Yeah, for sure. There's many ways in which the plant provides. Obviously, I didn't get into this for the money. I didn't say, "Oh, I love I love making money selling weed. I always wanted to find the best weed possible and experience the different effects. So as far as how it provides, it was really an experiment for me to figure out, especially when I was in college and high school, what strains do what are strains? Do I know that what I'm getting is the strain that they say it is? And there's many, many ways that it provides for me personally. Obviously, trauma is a huge one to where I didn't have to rely on the pharmaceutical companies or doctors to heal trauma or get a different perspective on life. And cannabis will if you have no tolerance, it'll freak you out to the point of where you have a different perspective. And for some people, it's different. But with the very strong cannabis, which I was always searching for, it provided me a completely different perspective on life than I had before, which was blanketed by trauma, really. So I'd say that's really the number one. The work that I do obviously makes money, but I don't do it for the money. What I do doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like I'm going to a job. This is my passion, and I put everything that I have into this. And people see how I work, and I work 12 to 15-hour days normally. And they say, "How do you do it? How you need to take a break?" And I'm like, doesn't feel like work. It's just my life and what I've dedicated it to. So I'm very fortunate and blessed in that way, where I've been able to figure out how to turn this into something where I don't have to go work a normal job. But obviously I don't do it for that. I do it for the passion of the plant. And yeah, that's I think the biggest thing in which it gives back to me. I mean, I could talk for hours about all the benefits of cannabis and the different avenues in which it can give back to people.
So you said when you joined, when we joined the show at the top, you were saying how you came on to talk about your friend Nick. So I'd love for you to, for folks that aren't familiar with who Nick is and his connection to the community, I'd love for you to give us a little bit of backstory, and then tell us about his current condition and how he's using cannabis to help him and things like that. We'd love to just kind of give us all the details so our listeners can kind of connect with who Nick is.
For sure. So Nick is somebody that I met through Adam Dunn and the Adam Dunn Show a while back. I actually did a podcast with him in May of this past year, talking about descheduling versus rescheduling. And he's a big proponent of putting the plant in people's hands and giving the people the freedom to do what they want with it versus giving it to the control of the big pharmaceutical companies. So Nick has been an activist in the community that goes to rallies. He shows up to hearings. He goes and he spreads the word on things that he thinks are important within the industry. And maybe people that have been treated unfairly, whether it's put in prison or whatever. And he has given back so much to this community, which I've seen personally. He's not just my friend, but he's somebody that I actually respect in the industry for going out there and spreading the word when he's not paid to do it, and he's doing it out of pure passion. So with what I do personally, I don't have the time for activism really, and that's just because I'm so busy with cultivation and lab work and everything else in my life. But he fills a void that most people won't touch, which is putting your face out there and advocating for people who either don't have a voice because they don't have the microphone, or they're in prison, or he's speaking up when it's uncomfortable to speak up about something when people are treated unfairly. So Nick is somebody that deserves our support. Obviously, with my mom dying of cancer, it hits home for me where anybody with cancer, obviously I have a special place in my heart for them. But since he's also a good friend and an activist in our community, it means even more. So yeah, I mean, as far as Nick's condition, man, I mean, he's not doing well. I saw him for the last time that I saw him before I went to see him when he was really sick was in December at the toy drive that Tops and I threw at Adam Dunn's studio, where we basically gave toys to kids in the community and accepted donations. But he showed up there and he seemed fine. Now, when I went to go see him a few weeks ago, I was blown away. He couldn't get out of bed. He couldn't put pillows behind him. He's stuck in a small room in his house that they've set up basically to have everything accessible, but he still really can't do much physically. I think emotionally he's really going through it. It's not easy number one, dealing with all of the physical ailments that he's dealing with, but on top of that, just dealing with the hospitals and dealing with doctors who are very, very by the book and clinical, who aren't good with cannabis or alternative treatment methods. He's emotionally not doing great. So part of what I posted on Instagram was like, guys, he's not doing good. Even if you can't donate, send him a message and let him know you're thinking about him. Say a prayer for him, do something that lets him know that you're on his mind, and you'll. Not everyone can do anything, right? Like there's a lot of the economy's messed up. People are short on money. I have customers of mine that have asked how they can donate. I mean, shout out to Chonky Nug, shout out to Be More 420. There's a lot of different people that have reached out to me to see how they can help, knowing that I, very passionate about this. So getting back to his physical condition, he can't really do much. He's bedridden. He's lost a ton of weight. You can see it in his face, just wrinkles and just stress. So anything that we can do as a community, I'm going out to all of these different podcasts and avenues to try to ring the bell to say, hey, one of our community members who's done a lot for you in the sense of the industry is
needing our help.
Needing our help. And he has stage 4 cancer. I think it's multiple cancers. One of them's pretty private as far as what he has specifically. It's a male issue. With that said, he's a little, he doesn't really want to. It's embarrassing.
Sure.
So he doesn't want to come out and say exactly what it is, but he's not doing good. So
yeah.
I will say there have been a lot of people who have stepped up, man. I mean, I have friends that have brought him food, and people are shipping things, and people are donating to the GoFundMe or buying things off of his Amazon wish list. And
that's huge right there. I think that's something I really want to focus in on. Are the ways that people can help. There is a GoFundMe, and I want you to shout that out. But also the Amazon thing. I think the Amazon thing's really cool because you have an opportunity even just to send a little anything that says, a message from the heart. And also, going through it is financially draining, emotionally draining, spiritually draining. It just sucks you of everything you have. And so all of that time and energy you used to be able to focus on taking care of yourself and everyone around you, you're barely able to take care of yourself at that. You're just falling apart. So all of those ways that people can assist and help him out are going to help him emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And so I really think it's important, and we'll try to get those links on the comments of this episode so that people can reach out and donate. And so give people an idea of some of the things that he can use, cannabis related and non-cannabis related.
So there's been a lot of people who have stepped up with cannabis. And I think, from the community, what we're really asking for is small stuff. So his Amazon wish list is something that he can't buy things off of the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe is strictly for his mistletoe therapy, which is a great cause as well. However, if you wanted to throw in $5 to $10 and ship him something from his Amazon wish list, the things that he really needs, and I have a whole list here that he sent me, but chemical-free and fragrance-free for everything that I'm about to say. So no, artificial fragrances. Try to make it something that's not just loaded with chemicals. And there's a bunch of stuff on his wish list. So that goes for cleansing wipes, hand sanitizer, Pure-Castile liquid soap, cotton washcloths, full body wipes, toothbrushes that are extra soft, so extra soft bristles, natural, and so fluoride-free toothpaste or Neem toothpaste, lip balm, essential oils, specifically lavender, he asked for, a bedpan, Nitrile Gloves, reusable bed pads, Liposomal Vitamin C, and caffeine-free herbal teas, specifically chamomile, ginger, cinnamon, chai, and peppermint is what he said he could really use. So we're talking very small things just to be able to help him live his life normally, or as normal as he can, through this very tough time. I mean, dealing with stage 4 cancer, I saw it firsthand, and I was blown away. I mean, it took everything in me not to break down crying, when he grabbed my hand and was emotional. I was just torn apart. So I've done a fair amount, donating, cannabis and syringes and lemonade, and so is Tops. I mean, shout out to Tops. He's taken Tops, has gone above and beyond to drive to him and see him and bring him things that he knows that he needs, as well as be a friend for him when he doesn't really have much support. He has no family that's helping, and the family that has helped him has screwed him over and stolen donations and been totally non-conventional as far as somebody who has a family member who's sick. So, yeah.
Crazy. Well, we wish the best for Nick, and I hope that he gets the healing that he needs.
Me too, man.
Is there like an Instagram handle or a link that folks can look up that they should go to?
Yeah, it's cannabis. I think cannabis.connoisseur.007, but let me just double check. And then it's at Boulder, like as in Boulder, Colorado. Hold on.
No problem.
Boulder.nick on Instagram, and cannabis.connoisseur.007 on Instagram.
Awesome.
And his cannabis connoisseur account is more of his activist account, and then the Nick Barretto Boulder Nick account is his personal one. So
right. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. We really appreciate it. And we encourage our community to check him out and give him some support. So let's talk about Terpicana. I see the Terpicana like awards, or I don't know what those are behind you.
These are our variety boxes that we have, and they've done phenomenally well. We had them at the DGC Cup last year. A lot of the people that first learned about me at the Cup have stayed in touch, and they absolutely love them. So it's something that I worked very hard to do. All of the branding I did myself, all the packaging I did myself. I designed it, outsourced it to China, and had them made. But I had the idea of creating a variety box that had 14 different strains in it to make up an ounce of concentrate, so that people could try all the different flavors without having to just buy an ounce jar and get used to it, basically.
That's really cool. Well, give us an intro into Terpicana. What is it?
So Terpicana is a single source live resin brand that I started about a year and 3-4 months ago. And I did it kind of as like a personal passion project. I never really saw it scaling or getting huge. It was really just this is fun. This is cool. I don't have the bandwidth to create a full blown brand at the moment. And people want my hash. So I tried to create something that was cool, that people liked, that made sense, and people love it. However, I never imagined it getting this big at all. So I have been working on, and for the past almost 6 months now, a brand that is fully licensed, scaled, and is going to absolutely change the game as far as being an extract focused brand where, people who are watching or anybody in the different communities can order from me and have it shipped to them legally with COAs and everything. So there's a whole thing I'm about to roll out. You'll see it at the DGC Cup. You'll see it at the Hash Bash. You'll see it, at all the different events. But Terpicana will get phased out as something that, like I said, it was a passion project. I never thought it was going to get this big, and I would have never started off if with something like that. If I had known it would, people would it would catch on as much as it did. So for what it's worth, it's been great. It's been fun to do, but it's time to get to the next level and take this much more seriously.
Excellent. And so that kind of leads me into one of the questions is, so do you just obtain, material from a group or like a co-op, or is this all your own cultivated?
It's all my own. So I bought a 20-acre property in the mountains in 2017 in Colorado. It was completely bare. I built my own house with my own hands, built a 30-light indoor grow. It's completely off the grid, all double-ended HPS, UVC lights, 14-foot ceilings, and it's a top-of-the-line, Lambo setup as far as the grow. Same with the lab. The lab is, top of the line. it's not, some guy who's running a closed loop in their basement. It's very much, scaled. So everything that I do is in-house. I don't sell anyone else's hash currently. I will branch into doing that with my new brand, where it'll be very distinct as far as what's grown by me and then what's grown by other people and processed by me, or what's just third-party outsourced from my friends that are, growing and extracting themselves. So I can't talk too much about the new brand and what exactly it is, but part of the goal was to take all of my friends with me, as far as the best people in the industry who are making rosin to live resin, to other concentrates, and then putting them on a legal pedestal as well, to where they can sell all of their homegrown stuff or whatever it is, legally. So that's been a very hard thing to figure out how to do, where to register, where to get licensing. Colorado is not very friendly as far as this kind of stuff is concerned, but they're not going to have a choice with what's coming down the line federally. So there's a lot that's been in the works. There's been a lot of research. There's been tons and tons of people involved, and we're pumped to get it out there. But for anybody who's watching, I mean, if you haven't tried the Terpicana stuff and you're wondering how to try it, just send me a DM on Instagram, and I'm happy to point you in the right direction.
Sweet, I'll do that. That's awesome. So I mean, that kind of begs the next question, which is, do you offer processing services for other folks?
I do. So I just did a bunch of processing for Scotty Reel. Ran his cherry paloma that he grew of yours, and it came out phenomenal. I do processing for a lot of other people here, jug dealers, guys, just a lot of my friends, right? And there's not a lot of people who will take on everyone else's material. I really try to stay away from running garbage, because there's a whole market for that. We try to do everything fresh, frozen, everything, I knew who grew it. And I really have to grade the material before I take it on and say, yeah, this is worth my time and worth your time. And if it's not, then just grow better weed. Or take your trash and put it into, another kind of product, but it's not worth my time. So everything right now is single source, though. I'm not selling anyone else's stuff. And if I am, it's very clear, like, this is, grown by this person. So nothing in the lineup, though, right now is grown by anyone but me, or extracted by anyone but me.
Nice.
So JR, yeah. JR has a note here that you may have had a time where you guys took down like an entire room just for making hash. Is that true? Was that kind of like
I still do
nerve-wracking experience when you first did
that? Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I still look at. So I had just grew this Georgia pie here. The like just the bag of peel alone was, looking at the plant was like, oh my God. And it made me sad to chop it and put it in the freezer, because I knew that people would appreciate the look of the flower. So yeah, I mean, I'll take 30 lights down and throw it all in the freezers and process it all. So it's just a different route. I'm a hash guy. I've always been into the best hash that there is. I remember when Green Dot Labs in Colorado came out, Green Dot Dave was growing all of the genetics. It was mostly Bodhi seeds, and he was running stuff that was like 120-day flower sativas that were ugly. Like I think it was forget exactly what it was, but it was a lanky, bud here, and you could never sell it as flower. But when you get it in hash form, specifically live resin that's done and extracted at cryogenic temperatures, you're in for a serious treat for growers who actually take the time to grow out the things properly. And that's I do rosin as well. I have a whole rosin setup, live rosin. I have a really nice press, freeze dryers, everything. And my issue right now with the market is that everyone wants this white hash. And what that is plants that just aren't taken the full term. So between everyone who's watching, most of the hash guys here are taking their plants 45 days in flower, chopping them and freezing them and washing them. And that's why you're getting that white hash. Now, my stuff has
I'm telling you, it's cracky, bro. It don't have the legs. Within 15 minutes, you're back on it.
Exactly.
Right?
So yeah. So it's great for business. Like if I'm selling hash and I'm selling rosin that's white, I know people are coming back way more often. However, it's the reason also why a lot of these hash guys aren't posting pictures of their flower, because it's premature and they know it is, but they can get more harvest in within a year, and they can just constantly flip their room 45 days, chop it, freeze it, wash it. Most of my friends are using Ospreys and they're using automated washing. And it works, but the market's not educated enough to where it's when CRC came out, everyone's like, oh my God, it's white. It's so good. And I think that the market will understand that, if you smoke my live rosin, you're not going to need to take another dab for hours. And I was talking to a guy from Binsky yesterday at an event that we vended, and he tried my rosin and was like, "Oh my God, dude, I haven't." We're selling this stuff and we're having to do it because our facility has to make money and have as many harvests a year to be able to get, as much return on investment for our facility. And that's 5 to 6 harvests a year, which is unbelievable. So it's really an industry secret where the consumers are smoking stuff that's premature, that wasn't taken long enough. And the whole thing is the brainwashing of the color versus it just being fire. I mean, all my rosin
became the THC number. It became the THC number.
Exactly. So like I said, I can make white rosin, but I don't because I try to take my plants to their full term. And for me, it's not about the money. It's about growing the best stuff possible. And that's why a lot of people love my flowers, because I'll take my flower 80 days. This past harvest, I just went 80 days in flower. Could I go 60? Yes, but the last weeks that you have there are crucial. I mean, you get massive bulking, you get just the push of the plant and the maximum potential that you won't get from taking it at 56 to 63 days, which most people do anyway. And I think a lot of people get too excited and they say, "Oh, it's ready," but they are not like actually scoping the tricheads. They're not trying to understand, okay, this is what the genetics are that went into this. They're kind of just going based off of an industry standard, which was developed for the legal industry to say, we need to make as much money as possible. This is about our investors. If we're not constantly turning over a crop, then we're losing money. So yeah. That's what it comes down to, is the people who are really passionate about it will grow stuff as long as they can.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And we always talk about the chemistry, right? Those heads and the resin that's in there, the chemistry of that changes as it ages and matures. And those chemistries are like keys, and it interacts with your own personal chemistry like a key in the lock. And so I feel like if you take it longer and you go to the full term of its maturity, the chemistry that you get from it is far more beneficial entirely than if you just chop early and you're selling crack.
For sure. And I kind of like to explain it like, the white rosin is kind of the veal, and the stuff that's taken full term is kind of like the Wagyu steak, where they're the same, but they're totally different. And some people, might like veal more than steak, but I'd say you have to understand the process and the fact that, like you said, you're unlocking all of these different things when you're taking it longer versus cutting it short just to make money. So I hope that this fad passes, where I think a lot of people don't like to get out of their mind high. So they're smoking the white rosin because it makes them chiller. It doesn't get them too paranoid. It doesn't get them, out of their mind high. And I hope that the real connoisseurs realize, okay, this is just premature. It's, not any better than stuff that was taken full term, where you smoke it and you're good for 3 or 4 hours, like the guys were yesterday smoking my stuff. So I could make, like I said, I can make it. I just choose not to, as far as I'm not doing this for the market. I'm doing it for my own passion. I don't care if people like live resin or live rosin. I know the science behind live resin. I know the science behind live rosin, the extraction temperature differences, what you're pulling, what you're leaving behind. And basically the fact that rosin is sifting out the heads, whereas butane is liquefying the trike heads. So the yield is way higher on live resin. At cryogenic temperatures, when you're extracting it, you're leaving behind all the sugars, the fats, the lipids, the waxes, and you're also not getting any of the water solubles. So with rosin, you're at 32 degrees when you're extracting, at best. You're pulling the fats, the sugars, the lipids, the waxes, and all of the other things that you don't really want in hash as far as like refining. Some of them are okay, but most people don't know about what's called lipid pneumonia. So I don't know if you know people who only smoke rosin who have this deep cough. They're like, that's lipid pneumonia, and it's an actual medical condition from inhaling lipids that are combusted, or vaporized or whatever. So the biggest problem with live rosin, and I know because I do both, and I'm not partial to either, but the problem with live rosin is the water solubles. So the molds, the bacterias, the other things that dissolve in water that end up in your hash. And it could be skin cells, it could be, mold that's in your soil, in your room, on your bud, powdery mildew, you name it, will end up in your rosin. So if you're not getting it from a place that's actually doing the testing, and I mean like a licensed facility who has to send a sample, 2 different samples, one basically many different samples depending on how you want to do it. In Colorado, they're very strict, but I'm not going to speak for other states. But you have to make sure that when you're buying live rosin, what exactly went into it, because there's a lot of people who have powdery mildew who are washing stuff. People don't know what they're smoking. And I think the biggest craze for rosin is the fact that anyone can do it. So you can do rosin at your house. It's legal, and that's really the selling point, I think, to the consumer who's a home grower. And I don't blame them, but just beware of the different things that I've talked about that end up being a downfall of rosin versus, BHO. Now, BHO, live resin specifically, fresh frozen, when you get to the point of having a system, you have to make sure you're extracting at cryogenic temperatures. I mean, I'd say the very minimum that you want to extract that is -10 Celsius, whereas I'm extracting it around -60, -65, sometimes all the way up to -80, which is -112 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you get it that cold, you are stripping and liquefying only the things that you really want to smoke. And I think a lot of the consumers' vision or view of live resin has gone completely haywire and bad because they've tried a lot of the fake live resin on the market. So whole melt extracts or PIF or any of these Cali companies that are calling things liquid diamonds or live resin when it's just CRC trim run that is sold to the consumer as live resin for $100 to $250 an ounce. They're like, I don't like that. And it's like, of course you don't like that because it's not live resin. It is trim that's extracted that is ran through a color remediation process to strip all of the bullshit. So if you would run this trim without remediating it, it would come out black, like RSO, goopy.
Like the old cow patties.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't blame the consumer, but if you don't like live resin and fresh frozen, like actually properly done, I want to argue with you about it and tell me why you don't like it. Now, if you come from the side of, oh, it's not organic, it's a solvent. Butane is an organic solvent. Water is one of the most corrosive solvents on earth. Water is also organic. There's many benefits of using butane versus any other solvent on earth. And Kind Bill, who basically invented live resin for the industry in Colorado very early on, he talks about this whole entire ordeal of making sure that you actually understand what a solvent is and why butane is better than propane or hexane or other blends. And there's many reasons for it. I won't get too into the weeds because I don't want to talk too much about it. But
I kind of want to stop you there because I want to start talking to you about static hash. Zolympics happened this weekend, and Terphogs is on IG. Posting up a bunch of different static shit that was out that looked amazing. And I have a buddy who's got a farm up in Washington, and they're doing some static stuff. And I saw it under the microscope. First pass is in the 90 percentile. So you just do a little bit of processing on top of that, and you're down to those numbers. So what's your opinion about the move? I mean, because you know how this shit comes in waves, brother.
Of course.
If the static shit starts happening, the glass makers start making it for static, if it's different or whatever, it'll start a whole nother wave. So where are you on that?
So static is something that I learned from Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn was doing static at TH Seeds in Amsterdam and Sensi Seeds before he started TH Seeds in 92 or 91. And I have a photo of him, doing static. It's black and white photo, but I think it's amazing. I think it's comparing a gas versus a diesel though, right? You can't dab static like you can dab rosin or you can dab live resin. So if I'm going to be smoking something that is on the level of bubble hash, but not, then further extracted, I'm going to be smoking static over pretty much anything else. So yeah, it's just it's like you have a fork in the road. You know what I mean? You have dabbable and then not dabbable, and you can still kind of dab it, but it's not going to completely vaporize on the nail uh, resin or live resin or live rosin would. So I'm all for it, man. I mean, if there was a market for it, I would definitely do it. But I love live resin and just kind of fell in love with this whole method and process when I was super young, and was fortunate enough to learn and teach myself from some of the best people in the industry who have won cups in 2014, 2015, 2016, and helped pioneer this industry. So I'm not partial to either, as far as like it's just different consumption methods.
Same. I feel the same way. I think, I don't know. I just appreciate the efforts when people do it to the fullest extent. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I don't expect anyone who's watching this to be doing butane extraction. It's not something that's, very easy to do. It's very expensive as far as the inputs. The initial equipment's expensive, getting the solvents expensive, the risk of doing it at home, not worth it. It's just not. So that's why I like rosin, is because people can make their own hash. They can make their own medicine at home. But just beware, don't put a bunch of powdery mildew flour into your wash. No,
and I could say for my own self, I make a wizard sauce because I always have different strains in my garden. But it's, the bubble that we're making with the methods that we've done, and the freeze drying aspect of it, the bubble you keep it in the freezer and it's amazing. It's white sand. And
exactly.
And it's for me, it's a nice medium. Like flour sometimes can kind of be low and a little burny, outy, and raw and fucking straight up BHO can be very rocket shippy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where I find like the bubbles just kind of lifts you up and then you just kind of cruise along. You know what I mean? Sometimes when I'm doing the podcast and I hit the bubble about 5 or 6 times because I'm just doing it, at the end of the show, I am pretty like, whoa.
You can't remember questions.
Yeah, like I'll just but no, I think for home growers who are, in charge of their own medicine and in charge of their own plant aspect, I think that that's an easy way to get down. And if you do want to press, your own rosin and go through all the processes of doing that properly, more power to you as well.
For sure. And like before the rosin wave was the wave of bringing all of the traditional hash to Colorado. So Frenchy Cannoli was huge in kind of pioneering in Colorado, the temple balls and all of the different traditional methods where he would go and learn them and then teach people here. And RIP to Frenchy, obviously. But I don't discriminate at all as far as different extraction methods.
Yeah.
I think that it's all a personal preference or a matter of what you have access to. I just don't like when people turn their own preference into a hating of another, extraction method. And I think there's room for everything.
The plant, does it? That doesn't serve the plant or the community. Word.
Yeah.
And then, so this was dry sift that was pressed it was sifted and then pressed by Adam. I'm just going to hold it up. But he gave me some of this the other day, and I mean, putting this into a joint or putting it into a bong, it's fucking amazing, man. I mean, you can't dab it, but it's
amazing hash.
It's amazing hash, yeah. So
yeah,
like, At the hash cup, you can bring whatever you want. We'll have hash pipes, we'll have dab rigs, we'll have, ways to consume all different kinds of hash. And I specifically didn't want this to be a only rosin or only live resin or live resin and live rosin only. I wanted this to be, where the home growers, like, people from the DGC community can do whatever method they want and then enter it.
The flower competition is the same way. Michigan Matt, who enters, he's a commercial grower. It's not just home growers. People do their light dep or whatever, they happen to be, however they happen to get down. We don't discriminate. It's an open cup. You bring your flower. If you think your flower can beat the best, then bring it,
For sure. And it's not just hydro flower or living soil or, hydro cocoa.
I will say, last 3 years, number one has gone to living soil.
I know. Last year, Tops lost by 1 vote, man. On he had the monkey spunk that came in second. I think, forget the guy who won, but he had the black maple, I believe.
Everyone's freaking out about that black maple.
I have the cut. It's phenomenal. I mean,
I'm hearing a lot about it.
If you want the cut, I'll give it to you. I'll bring it to the cup or I'll send it to you.
Please do. My hash maker is going to shit his pants. He's been bugging me about that for a long time.
I mean, I have a whole stable of all the newest washers. I have lists of, my veg is absolutely nuts as far as all the different things that I've kept and have in house that a lot of people don't have the space to run. So,
all right,
that's awesome.
That's cool.
We're got about 10 minutes left in the show, so we're gonna try to rip through some of our Dude Grows Hash Cup questions. But kind of getting into that, I wanted to throw in a question that we were supposed to ask in the previous section, but I'm interested in the answer. So, what are the flavors that folks seem to be gravitating towards these days? I'm super interested in it because I myself gravitate towards flavor. I'm more of a flower guy myself, but nonetheless, we're always interested in kind of where the market is these days. So what's your perception, or what have you seen in terms of what people like these days?
That's a great question. I've seen 2 different things specifically. What I've seen is there's a lot of the old school strains that people are looking to grow that are coming back, where the breeders like DJ Short bred for effect and not for bag appeal. So you get a very specific effect or flavor and effect out of a certain strain. So the sour diesel, there's 5 or 6 cuts of sour that I have. The Trinity, the Chem D, a lot of the stuff that's really, really heavy hitting that people want their hands on. That's number one. Number two, I think that there's an entire group of people that are looking just to try stuff that they can relate to in normal life. So this is lemons, or this is oranges, or this is peaches, or this is apricots, or grapes, or strawberries, or whatever the different fruits are. So there's many different subsections within that, where you have different lemons, you have more zingy lemons, you have more like deep earthy lemons, the orange side of it. I've always been into fruity terps in hash. I've always loved to take a dab and be like, oh my gosh, that's, fire. So I think a lot of it comes down to terps. But I think it's split. It's like you want flavor, but then you also want that hard hitting effect as well on a completely separate, platter. So you have the fruit and then you have the hard hitting stuff. A lot of people like gas. Not many people have tried like a real OG Kush, like Josh D's OG. He loves the Trinity that I ran. We were at Terp Basil in Miami, and he was just, blown away. He's like, "You still have this cut?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So, and shout out to Adam, because Adam had that kept away. But there's been many, I guess, reemergences of certain strains. Like one of my favorite strains ever is Lemon G13. And I know Grambo is still searching for the cut. My homie Yari, he has the cut. He runs it into BHO. And there's really, probably 2 or 3 people that are doing what I'm doing on the level, single source, grown to extract. And Yari from the Diamond Mine is one of them. So we're all friends. I don't look at the people that are in this as competition. But it's going back to the flavors. My issue with rosin right now is that everyone has the same stuff. Everyone is running the same strains because they're washers. And it's like, oh, this one's a new washer and I have to get it. And it's like, I've followed that train and gotten all the new washers that some people probably haven't even heard about yet. So I think it differs kind of like on your preference of what you like to smoke. So if you like to smoke rosin, you're probably searching for something that everyone else doesn't have. Um, and if you're smoking flower, it really depends on the effect you're going for. And if you're growing it yourself, a lemon G13 is going to take 10 to 12 weeks, depending on how long you take it. Whereas most other strains are going to take 8 to 9, in a commercial or just home grow setting where you're not really educated about the genetics. So, yeah, it's a multifaceted answer, but that's the best way I can explain it.
All right.
Well, one thing I've kind of wondered about, and I've kind of noticed, I'll try not to rant too much. I know we got to get going, Q. But the younger generations kind of their opening door to the cannabis experience is usually in a vape cartridge. And a lot of times those are flavored in a way that might skew what their desires are as they become hash consumers.
Yeah. So I could go for days about distillate or, HTFSE pens that have distillate in them. But most people that are smoking, like your soccer moms and whatnot, don't really know what terpenes are. So they'll get a cart from Piff that's from Cali. They're just buying it based on price and access. And it tastes like an artificial, blue raspberry candy.
Doo berry.
Yeah. So that's a whole different side of the market. I don't even mess around on that side. I'm like the highest level of connoisseur that looks at the jar that the hash comes in and makes my judgment based on if someone's educated enough to put it in an actual Myron jar or not. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole side of people that are uneducated that really are just your Coors Light or Bud Light drinkers that aren't really ever going to care. They just want to get high for a reasonable price, and them hitting their pen when they have 5 kids in the van ends up being just fine for them. So it's a very interesting landscape as far as the consumers and the education. And if you love weed enough, you will learn and you will learn how to source better stuff. So
let's dive into the Dude Grows Hash Cup. We just had the dude on a couple weeks back, and so we were talking about the Dude Grows Cup. So it's good to connect with you about the Hash Cup. So tell us about it. The Hash Bash, I think, is what you were calling it earlier.
Yep.
Yeah. When is it? What is it?
So it's Sunday, June 8th, the day after the Flower Cup. It's basically the same thing as the Flower Cup, just for hash. Anyone can enter. You can bring whatever hash you want, whether you extracted it or someone else extracted it. It is going to be an event that is filled with hash connoisseurs, and there will be judging by the consumer. So you'll be able to go around and you'll be able to test, just like the DGC Flower Cup, all of the different hash and vote with your tokens. There will be dab tenders that'll basically serve you a dab. You can bring your own rig if you prefer to do it that way. There's going to be a whole setup for people that want to bring their own glass and their dab rights and all of the tools that they need. Now we're going to be using, for anybody who doesn't bring their own rig, we're going to be using e-rigs just because it's a lot easier. It's easier to clean. It's a pain in the ass when you get to torching stuff for the general person. So if you want to bring a torch and you want to do it your way, we're happy to have you, and you're more than welcome to do that. But it'll be out of the top of the line devices, on the market. Everything will be Q-tipped, alcoholed, done properly. So that's the general overview. There will be a lot of different people who aren't at the Flower Cup there. So a lot of the hash people in Colorado who are very, very heady connoisseurs will be at the Hash Bash that won't be at the Flower Cup, just because they're not flower guys, they're hash people. So it'll be a totally different scene as far as the people that are entering. I think there's going to be a lot of crossover between the two, but expect a different crowd than Saturday.
That's cool. I'm glad. I've been to the Dude Grows Cup 2 or 3 times, and it's always a great time. So that's cool that you guys get to have like the same experience but your own crowd now. That's really awesome. So how does one compete or enter into this competition, and how much do they need to enter? How much do they need to bring with them?
So I believe the entry, we're asking for a half ounce for each entry, just so there's enough for everyone to try it.
More.
You think more?
Yeah, sure. Because at the end of the day, like if people bring I know an ounce might be tough for people to bring, But if they could bring an ounce, I want you to know that everything that is left over will go to the bakery, and Scotty and the dude will be talking about it and enjoying it. So that could be a little extra bonus for the boys if you bring a little extra.
Okay. So I will talk to the team about that. I know that right now it is a half ounce, but I think that we're trying to make it conducive to people who are in the DGC community as well, who maybe aren't yielding a full ounce out of their home tent or, whatever, and rosin or. So that's our consideration, is like, I don't want to make this something where it's like only the commercial guys or the dudes who are doing it big can enter. I want this to be for everybody. And I want, that's kind of the consideration. So if we mess up and people don't, we end up running out, then that's not going to be good. But I also don't want there to be too much of a limitation to where everyone's like strapped to an ounce and they're like, oh, well, this is, worth more than I paid for my tickets. And I'm basically just giving it to enter it. So that's all we're trying to juggle there as far as that. Now, you can go to dgccup.com. You can get the 3-day pass. You can get the Sunday Hash Bash judge ticket. I think it's $133, $134 for the Sunday event, and then the 3-day pass is about $320 from my recollection. So it's gonna be sweet. It's the first one ever. There's a lot that's going into it, and like I said, it's not gonna be the same crowd. We're trying to get all the hash people there. I want everyone and their mother to enter, so that there is a very high standard for entries, and people get to try stuff from all around, from all different kind of extraction methods. So it's a work in progress. Obviously, we have about 3 months until the event, and things are coming together. Dude, I know it'll be here before we know it. It'll be like, oh my God, it's the night before, just like last year where I'm up till 3 and 4 in the morning getting everying ready. So
I'm already packing my suitcase right now, bro.
I know. It's going to be a fun time, man. Anybody who hasn't gotten a ticket, who hasn't been, it is probably the best event in Colorado, hands down. And I go to a lot of events here. I probably do 20 to 40 events a year, depending on the year. So it's one of the only consumption events that's at a private location that, there's a lot of cool people, and it's not all the same people that you see at every event. So I'm really excited.
Me too. I can't wait. Last year was the first year I'd missed in 8 years.
No way. Last year was a ball, man. We had a great time. I mean, this year will be better, though.
That broke me, bro. But I got a spinal implant. I'm up and moving, and I'm doing good.
I love it. So you'll be there this year?
My flight's booked.
Good. Okay. I know we're going to be roommates, so I just wanted to make sure for everyone to know out there that.
Oh, bro, you're gonna meet my Uncle Jim. He's 75-year-old grower, and he's a good time. It's gonna be fun.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm honored too that Dude and Scotty chose Tops and I to organize this event, because it's a very important thing, and I don't think that there's many other people out here who have their the understanding of the industry on the hash side than Tops and I. I mean, this is all we do. So,
and you guys got that young hustle. You know what I mean?
We do, and we know a lot of people. I mean, we go to all these events, and we're vending, and we meet people, and we can bring a really good crowd here. And especially if you're not really into hash, or you love hash, but you don't know that much about it, this is the event for you, because you'll learn a ton, and you'll meet a lot of the right people in the hash game too.
That's what our community is about. We're not gatekeepers.
I'm not at all. That's my thing as well. I don't hold any info back. I'll tell you what nutrients I use, when I use them, what day, what lights I use, everything, because even like the guys who are competition on the BHO side, the live resin, for me, they're my friends. They're not competition. There's enough room for everybody. And
Plus,
I was
when you go to the events, you want all of it to be good, right?
Of course.
You want everyone to, I'm lifting up everybody, right? When we're lifting up each other.
Exactly. And that's why I love DGC too, is because they make it really easy. They don't try to overcomplicate things and kind of give you this, like view that the industry or growing a plant is hard. I mean, grow dots and recharge, right? And it's grow great weed. I just ran Scotty's stuff, grow dots and recharge, and I was blown away. You can ask Scotty.
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, Scotty, I haven't ran anything in a long time that came out this wet. There's been maybe 2 or 3 strains that I've ever seen that come out like kind of like water, and then I separated the terps, and he did as well, and the terp fraction off of the tops of the jars was like unbelievable, man. It was like an essential oil of the cherry paloma. So I'm excited for everyone to try that. I know Scotty has like 185 jars of it that he's planning on giving away, so everyone and their mother is going to try the cherry paloma live resin, and I told him he needs to enter it because it was definitely special. I have a jar here for myself that it's hard for me to stay out of.
That's cool.
Dude, I would be really honored if it. That just stokes me all together. I'm stoked. I hope everyone has a good time. It's going to be an amazing event, and you better start practicing now. You better get your tolerances up, folks, because it's going to be the gauntlet. And back in the day, man, like we would have these the passes when you get in. Would have little numbers all the way around, and they would click the number of the jar that you tried. And bro, people would get like 50 clicks on their badge. And that's flour. I don't know how you could take 50 rips like that, but bro, it's a gauntlet. Bring it.
Yeah, and what we're trying, so that's a good point. I mean, I haven't really thought about that as far as like, your general consumer smoking, let's say 50 different kinds of hash. However, I think it's going to be based on the consumer already knowing what they like and smelling a jar and being like, I want to try this one, and this one, and then going from there. But I don't think there's a way to taste all
flour, right? Because the flour we've always kind of advocating for the grower not going to the jar and recognizing what's their flour and then politicking the crowd. We frown upon that. But one of the things you do is you look at the jar and you judge with your eyes like, oh yeah, bro, I definitely want to try that one, So.
Exactly. And there's going to be people who only want to try the rosin. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I expect from a lot of the people, and that's okay. It's all preference, right? That's why we're doing this, is so you have options, and depending on what you like, you vote for it. There's no, bias on my end of saying you need to vote for 4 categories. No, it's whatever you like best.
Awesome. Well, if folks are interested and they want to check out the DGC Cup, they should go to dgccup.com. It's where you'll find tickets. It's got the festival schedule. Everything is over there. Before we go, any other shout outs, links, pages that folks should check out?
Going back to Nick, his Amazon wish list and his GoFundMe. If you haven't seen the post on my Instagram, it's pinned at Terpicana Extracts with 1 N. It's like my name is on here. I don't know if it shows on the podcast, but follow me. I'll follow you back if you're from this community. Look at the pinned post. That's the condition that Nick is in. It's obviously why I'm on here. I'm not here to really talk about my own hash. I'm here to talk about him, how you can donate. GoFundMe goes to the mistletoe therapy. The Amazon wish list goes directly to him as far as the items that he needs that are on his wish list, and anything that you guys can do. I'd appreciate it. He'd appreciate it, obviously, and many other people in the community appreciate it as well. So I'm hoping he can make it to the DGC Cup this year. No promises, obviously, but I'm doing everything I can to make sure that he's combating this with as much support as possible. So anything you guys can do, it means the world.
Please do. Please do.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Kyle. We really appreciate your time today. Thanks everyone in the chat. We had folks in the CannaBuzz community that joined us during the show today. We had Crazy Pop Mom who's enjoyed your story. We had Mantis Cannabis 420, Dab Father, and a bunch of others in the community that were hanging out in the chat. So thanks everyone over there. Thanks everyone on YouTube, on Spotify, and your favorite podcast apps. Thanks for joining us over there, and leave a comment on those various platforms. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And as always, JR,
Growers
Growers
love.
love. Peace, everyone. Have a great one.